Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
A major change is coming in the new year. The city of Detroit is rolling out new parking rules, and one of them could come as a huge surprise for longtime residents.
This all surrounds 4 new residential parking zones in the city.
Yeah. These new rules are going to be enforced 7 days a week. That's a major change from what's happened in years past. Let's get to Sean Lay live with more on showing us what drivers are going to need to know before we park. Sean.
And I think showing, Devin and Kimberly, showing people is probably the key here. You live in a beautiful place like this. People are saying, look, I need a parking space out here next to my home. People coming in to enjoy delicious restaurants, they want a parking space too. Here's the deal. What I took away from this whole thing today was look for the signs every time. Top sign there, that's the zone. It has the arrow pointing towards the pay box. You pay over there. This new sign, look for these now when you come to places like Midtown. Here's a zone, purple zone, points this way, and it's for residential parking only, so people here. But here's the rules here we all need to remember. Here's residential parking, but everyone's allowed to park here from 9 to 5. After 5 o'clock, these spaces belong to the people inside. Kier Gibson lives and works in and around Midtown. For a resident, what's parking like for you?
Parking is pretty good here.
You don't have to go fishing around for a space?
Depending on the time. So I would say like anytime after 5, yeah, you have to fish around. Anytime before 5, you're good.
After 5, the area is hopping. People who call Midtown home get hopping mad that the spaces around their buildings are taken. They have to go searching for parking spaces, lugging groceries a block or 2 or 3 home. Just describe for me, what is parking like around here?
Normally pretty all right, but it can get difficult on busier times, such as, Friday evenings, Saturday evenings, weekends.
Because people want to come down and enjoy the area.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Midtown is hopping.
What you'll see is the zone will have a period in most instances where anybody can park in it for a specific time. But at a certain time, only residents will be able to park in those zones.
And for a lot of people,
it makes sense.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, yeah.
Residential zones will also be enforced on Sundays, and for the first time, citywide parking safety violations will also be enforced on Sundays. Sunday meter parking remains free. The best way to avoid a ticket, follow the new signs that direct you on when you can park in the residential space and when you can't.
Well, that's a common complaint, and I will say that as long as you park legally, you never have to worry about being ticketed.
That's true indeed. Okay, so tickets, if you're in a residential space, pretty much after 5 o'clock, if you get a ticket, $45. That's the thing. To get a residential pass here, it's basically your license plate. You have to register. That is $60. And again, what I took away from this was look for the signs. So here, residential parking. Anyone can be here, 9 to 5, but then after 5, it becomes residential parking. If you're coming down then and used to use these spaces for restaurants, you then have to go out into the neighborhood to find another space. Guys, I want to hit on that Sunday thing again because it's really important. So Sunday, there's safety violations, meaning this is the first time they're going to enforce on Sundays. If you're parked in front of a fire hydrant, you'll get a ticket for something like that, and they're going to enforce the residential parking as well. There will not be a quiz after this report, guys. Back to you.
Thank goodness.
Good deal, yes. All right, Sean.
All right, we do have some breaking news to get to right now. This is coming from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. That is where a Detroit police officer has just been charged in the death of a man outside a Detroit bowling alley. Prosecutors say Officer Jawan Brown punched a man so hard during a disorderly conduct call that happened back in September that man fell and died. Brown now faces a charge of manslaughter. He's expected to be arraigned tomorrow morning.
Our other top story at 5, a lawsuit is looking to set a new precedent when it comes to child sex assault cases in our state.
It involves a priest who at one time worked in the Lansing diocese and an assault that happened back in 1999. Let's get to Pamela Osborne in the newsroom. Pamela, this comes after a law was changed stemming from the Nassar case, correct?
It does. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But what they're arguing now goes back to 2018. That's when Michigan lawmakers changed the statute of limitations, giving sexual assault victims more time to pursue their cases in civil courts.
The majority of child sex abuse victims who disclose their abuse delay disclosure until adulthood. Why? Because they're surviving. They can't process it. They can't deal with it. They are simply trying to live.
Attorney Vin Johnson says his client, Brian McLean, is nearly one of 83% of child sexual assault victims who do not come forward at the time they're being harmed.
Went into a depression, and I isolated myself for the next couple of decades. I was saddened and scared, and ultimately somebody who I thought was a higher authority from God was abusing me.
McLean says a priest by the name of Father Richard Lobert sexually abused him in 1999. That was while he attended the W.J. Maxey Boys Training School in Whitmore Lake.
But now we're dealing with what we believe to be the new statute.
Johnson is referring to a change Michigan lawmakers made in 2018 during the Larry Nassar investigation. While Nassar was criminally prosecuted, the victims learned they were unable to file civil cases because the statute of limitations expired at 3 years. Lawmakers made a change in favor of victims, giving them to the age of 28 or within 3 years of discovering that childhood trauma. Their position is McLean, who opened up to a therapist about his abuse in 2020, is well within his legal rights to bring a civil case to court and seek compensation for damages.
This is one of the first times that the Michigan Supreme Court, or any Supreme Court from across the country, is going to be hearing a case with a new statute of limitation that takes into consideration the delay that childhood trauma has in these folks coming forward to talk.
Attorneys believe there could be even more victims out there. We did some digging around and found out Lobert served at Father Gabriel Richard Catholic High School in Ann Arbor. His time there dates back to 1995. We also found a press release from 2021 explaining that he had been removed from his priestly duties pending an investigation. We will, of course, be following this one, and we'll keep you updated.
Please do. Okay, Pamela Osborne reporting for us. We appreciate it. And more news tonight. The former IT director of City of Fraser admits she embezzled more than $100,000 from the city. Earlier today, Michelle Kwiatkowski pleaded guilty to a 20-year felony and agreed to pay roughly $90,000 in restitution. That number is based on the amount of money she charged to the city's American Express card between 2016 and 2020 to purchase personal items. City officials are also asking her pension be forfeited. Kwiatkowski will be sentenced next year.
A lot of reaction to our interview with Christine Beatty, the former chief of staff to Kwame Kilpatrick, involved in the text message scandal that brought that administration down 15 years ago.
And now there are questions about her job at a Detroit nonprofit. Christy McDonald is here with more on Thaw's response and more of her conversation with Christine.
Yeah, absolutely, Kimberly and Devin. You know, today, Santil Jenkins, the CEO of Thaw, which is the Heat and Warmth Fund, wrote an op-ed in the Detroit Free Press explaining why she hired Christine as a program director. In part, it says that clients come to Thaw looking for a second chance and that Christine deserves a second chance as well and that she's qualified. Well, in my conversation with Christine, she talked about how important the work is to her, and it hasn't been easy to get here.
Was it hard to find a position back here in Detroit?
Yeah, it was hard to find work anywhere. You know, it's been a tough 15 years. And I know that sounds crazy, like it's 15 years, but it's 15 years. And yeah, it's been tough. And I'm grateful for the opportunity and the chance that Thaw gave me to be a program director. You know, it was, right up my alley. I have a bachelor's in social work and a master's degree in social work. You know, I've administered many programs and helped to operate the city. And it is something that I love doing every day because we get to help people. You know, I love it and I'm grateful for it. But yeah, everybody, especially when you have things like your past or your past actions, and if someone wants to bring those past actions up, and then now does this negatively impact the organization that you work for? And for Thaw in any way, shape, or form to be negatively looked upon because they gave me an opportunity, to work is heartbreaking for me because of the work that they do. Thaw has done great work for years, continues to do it. They've been doing it since 1985. So it's an honor, so I don't want anything to do with Christine Beatty to have a negative impact on Thaw.
And I think what's coming out of this interview as well is however you feel about this, 15 years later, there's a lot of debate over second chances after people have served their time. Thaw stands behind Christine. And of course, you can watch my entire interview with Christine Beatty streaming now on Local 4 Plus. It's our streaming channel. And of course, click on Detroit.com.
We aired it last night at 8 o'clock, but the whole thing is still there for you to see.
Absolutely, all 35 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Christy.
All right, we turn now to the weather. We've got a decent sunset, I'm told, as we take a live, there it is, as we take a live look at Eastern Market from our downtown sky cam.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good amount of sunshine all day today. Let's get over to Kim Adams. What can we expect as we head into tonight, Kim?
Well, we can expect dry conditions, but it is chilly. Temperatures are now in the 30s everywhere you go. 31 in Pontiac and Howell, also in Ann Arbor. 33 at the airport in Grosse Ile. 32 down in Monroe. Low 30s up into the thumb with upper 20s for Sandusky. Factor in the wind here, the current wind chills. Feels more like it's in the 20s, but I have to tell you that sunshine really did help today. And our winds were not very strong. So even though it's the coldest day of the week, it might not have felt like that to you. 26 in Pontiac, mid-20s the current wind chill in Howell, 23 in Ann Arbor, mid-20s down in Monroe. Tomorrow a little bit warmer. We get our sunshine back, just a couple of clouds here and there. We'll be at 28 at 8 a.m., 40 though tomorrow afternoon, and we're not done there. Take a look at the temperature trend. We stay above normal. In fact, by Christmas Day, looks like we'll hit a high at or near 50 degrees. We do have some rain headed in for the end of the week. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes.